Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. It's kind of pouring down rain here, so hopefully wherever you're at, you're dry or staying dry. We want to do this real quick video. A couple days ago I posted about we're going to start assembling the engine for Chase's drift car, and I had a few people ask me some questions about it. And my normal reaction is, hey, it's, you know, we're building this out of some parts that we had left over from the racing days and some new parts. So I kind of tell people, hey, it's kind of a basic steelhead late model engine, but a lot of people don't really know what a steelhead late model engine is. So I figured we'd do a real quick video, keep it short, keep it simple, kind of tell you the parts and pieces we're putting inside this thing and some of the specs and all that. We're not going to do a video of us screwing this thing together. There's a million videos put together small block Chevrolet on the internet. So if you want to see how to assemble one of these, you can find that video anywhere. Chase is filming this. Say hey to everybody, Chase.
Hello.
But he's going to be the one actually doing the majority of the assembly on this thing. He and I have already prepped a lot of this stuff to start putting this together. There's a lot of prep that has to go into these parts first, or that should go into these parts first, before you start putting them together. But I'm going to kind of walk you through it and show you what we got here. Okay, so first, the block. This is a basic 350 small block Chevrolet. It's nothing special. I bought it fresh from the machine shop, ready to go. It is 30 over. It is a 2-bolt main, and I know a lot of guys poo-poo on 2-bolt mains, but I've built some serious horsepower before with 2-bolt mains. There again, I was able to buy this at a really good price, so I figured what the heck, we'll use it. This engine may or may not end up with some boost on it. If it does, then we're probably going to pull it back out, drop the pan, and put a main cap girdle on it if we're going to add boost. But for now, we're not. We are, however, going to put ARP main cap bolts in it to kind of keep everything as tight and stationary down there as we can. As far as prep goes, nothing really special. We've deburred basically everything inside the block. We opened up and polished the oil back drain holes. Nothing super serious. That's just normal stuff that you should do anyway. If this was going to be a full-on race engine, then we probably should have, or we would have went and deburred the outside of the block. I'd done a little bit of prep on the outside, but we're not going to in this case. We have already assembled the 4 corners so we can check our deck height. It's 16 thousandths on this side, 19 thousandths on this side. If this was going to be a true race engine, we'd send this thing back out, get it cut down to 0, and then work with the head gaskets to get our quench, and we'll talk about quench here in a minute. But for what we're doing, we're going to leave it. The decks are nice and flat. We have checked them. There's no warpage in the decks, so everything's cool. Like I said, we're 16 on one side, 19 on the other side. And for a stock block that hasn't really had a whole lot done to it, that's actually pretty good. They're typically in the lower to mid 20s, the piston down the hole. Okay, so that's the block. Let's talk about the crank. This is a Callie's, I believe it is, crank. It's a Ford's 4340. We had, I don't want to say just sitting around, but this we had already purchased a while back for another engine we ended up not putting together. It is a 350 stroke. It's not the lightest crank in the world. It's 48 pounds. A lot of the racing series that we ran wouldn't let you run lighter than 48. So that's why this was purchased. But like I said, it's a 4340 Callie's. The bearings we're going to use, Cleveite bearings. I don't really know anything any better for kind of I don't want to say a basic, but it is kind of a basic build. And like I said, we're going to use ARP bolts all through the whole inside of the engine. Main cap bolts, the rods have ARP bolts in them, ARP head bolts, the whole 9. Okay, let's move along to the pistons and rods. Okay, the pistons and rods, we're going to use these. These are kind of a hybrid piston from Wiseco. These are kind of half race, half street. They are forged. They are 2 eyebrow flat top. They are fairly lightweight, but they do have this this scuff coating here on the side which if you were to put these in a street motor would really help a lot. It does add a little teeny tiny bit of drag for a tree race engine, and these are a hair heavier for a tree race engine, but these are a pretty good bargain for the cost. We bought the set that included the pistons, the pins, the locks, and the rings, all from Wiseco. So that's what we're going to go with there. Those were brand new. I had this set of 6-inch rods. These are scat rods. These have been ran in another engine, but they still had a ton of life left on them. Like I said, they are 6-inch, and they're the normal. I think the pin size, the stock pin size is like a 0.993, I believe, and then it's the normal crank size down here. And for weight, we've already went through, weighed all the pistons. The pistons come weighed out, but I always like to double check them. And then we definitely went through and just tuned the rods up a little bit as far as the balance, getting the weight right. We measure, or we weigh the whole rod as well as the big end. And just to give you an idea of what these weigh, this particular piston and pin, I don't weigh them with the rings because the rings are pretty darn close, but I do weigh them with the pins. I don't weigh them with the locks because the locks are pretty close. But this piston with the pin weighs 416 grams. This particular rod weighs, it's hard to see, 586 grams. So, I mean, that's right at 1,000 grams, which isn't super lightweight, but it's pretty decent. For what we're going to do with drifting, this thing should spin up pretty darn good, I would think. The heads we're going to use, I didn't drag them over here, but they are a World product head. I think they're, out of the box, they're like 215 cc's. The heads have been ported, and I bought them that way. Whoever did them actually did a really good job. We haven't flowed them, so I can't give you the actual flow numbers. And we still need to CC them. The guy I bought them from said he thought they were somewhere around 62. We're actually going to CC those so that we can dial in and our compression ratio. And but we also, we want to be able to run this thing on pump gas, just kind of putting around because we are going to drive this thing on the street a little bit. So we need to figure out what our CCs are. They're somewhere probably between 60 and probably 64, somewhere in there. We got to figure out exactly what they are so that we can get our compression ratio dialed in and everything good to go. The oil pan, I'll grab it real quick. It's going to be a pretty basic circle track pan. This is what they call a champ style pan. It's got kickouts on both sides, and the whole thing is a little bit shorter than what they call a left turn only pan. And the heads are steel. There again, I got them on a deal, and we had them already. The intake we're going to run is over there. You can't see it. It's not that I don't want to show it to you. I didn't want to drag it out. It is a Holley high-rise single plane intake. It's real close to a Edelbrock Victor intake, but it's one that I've had forever. It's had some pretty good port work done on it. We'll probably end up going with something a little more modern, but the goal right now is just get this thing together, get it in the car, and fry some tires and kind of see where we're at. For a carburetor, we're going to use one of our NASCAR Truck Series 390s. And I know people are probably saying, oh my God, a 390, oh my God. And it's probably not the perfect carburetor for this, but we had it. And on a Truck Series engine, those carburetors can make a little over 700 horsepower, or be a part of the combination that makes 700 horsepower. So I think it'll be fine right now. When we replace it, we're probably gonna go with an 850 when we replace it. Although that carburetor probably flows a little over 700 like it is. Okay, camshaft. Camshafts are typically super secret. That's why I'm not gonna tell you what it is. I'm lying, I'm gonna share it with you. Nobody else will share their camshaft specs. I'm gonna share the camshaft specs. And by the way, cam, timing chain, springs, everything's comp cam stuff. Just basic, off-the-shelf comp cam stuff. Okay, so here's where this probably isn't the perfect camshaft for this engine, but we had it. It was brand new in the box. We never ran it. So it's technically a circle track cam. but it does make a lot of mid-range power, which is probably going to work pretty good in a drag car. But it's a tight lash cam. You lash it at 16 thousandths. It is a 531, 537 lift. So it's not crazy lift numbers, but we don't have crazy heads to flow a buttload of air anyway. If you're into the duration of stuff, it is 285, 301, and 248, 252 at 50. And has a center line of the intake is 102 and the exhaust is 110. So that should be a pretty rowdy little camshaft for this guy. I can't think of, like I said, it's a flat tappet cam. I can't really think of anything else. That's probably this motor here. We wanted to build this motor here kind of on a budget and use a lot of what we had, and fortunately we had some really good stuff. And then the stuff we had to buy new, we tried to make smart choices. Probably at some point, this thing's going to end up with an LS in it, just because you can make a lot of streetable horsepower with the LS, especially under boost. But that may be a little bit down the road. Not that this engine wouldn't be streetable, it would be. But you know, when you start talking about making 800, 900, 1,000 horsepower somewhat easily and somewhat inexpensive, then you know LS is kind of the way to go. So at some point, the car probably end up with an LS in it with boost. This engine will probably end up with some boost on it at some point. As a matter of fact, we talked about putting a main girdle on it if we're going to be boost. We're going to go ahead and gap the rings a little bit wide in anticipation of boost. So anyway, there it is. That's the total sum. We got our fingers crossed for 500 horsepower. We're not going to take the engine to an engine dyno and dyno it, but when it gets in the car and gets all put together, we are going to take it to a chassis dyno, and we'll do some videos for that. And like I said, we got our fingers crossed for 500 horsepower at the flywheel, not necessarily the rear wheels, although that'd be great. Naturally aspirated, not under boost. So anyway, a lot of you guys had questions about the internals. There it is. Got anything you want to add, Chase?
No.
I think that's all good. You ready to put this thing together?
Yes.
All right, guys. So we're going to cut it off here. Me and Chase got work to do. I'll see you later.